Ahoy, ye sailors and gamers! Ahoy, my friends! Welcome back to the briny sea. Welcome to the Gaming Galleon. I'm Captain Raz, and it's been another long week, another chilly week, out in Indianapolis, so I'm glad we got out of there, and we're on our way to our destination this week. It's been snowy, it's been cold, first snow in town, so I thought we'd celebrate the first snowfall in Indianapolis by celebrating. Is you getting that music? Let me kill that music. Hold on. That music's really cheesy, isn't it? We'll get to that later. I mean, only music like that is going to be accompanied by the kind of game we're playing today. We're playing Clay Fighter for the Super Nintendo. Why did I pick Clay Fighter? Well, this is actually an old favorite from when I was a kid. It's, you know, I think we're going to get some laughs out of it. It's not that hard to play. I might get beat up a little bit, but for the most part, I can hold my own. And the best part about it is the cast of characters, one of which being a snowman named Bad Mr. Frosty. So I thought we'd step into the shoes of Bad Mr. Frosty today. We'll try and compete for the title of King of the Circus. King of the Circus. And we'll have some laughs along the way. But before we get started with Clay Fighter, I just got to show you what I found today. Okay, can I do that? Can I show you what I found? Oh, it's good coffee. Black. So I was at a thrift store today before we set out to Clayland, which is a circus, if you're wondering, that's been enveloped by a meteorite of clay. More on that later. But I was at a thrift store, and I'm rummaging around the board games. Always good to be looking around the board games. And I came across this. From the 80s, I would guess. 78, my mistake, the year of Space Invaders. We have Mork and Mindy by the Mork and Mindy card game by Milton Bradley. And you've got just the pictures of these two really cracked me up. You got Robin Williams there, and whoever that chick who played Mindy was called. And as you can see, they're saying all these weird things. Opadido and Zarach and Nanu Nanu. And why is that? Because this game is all about speaking the language of Mork from Ork. Do you know what this is? Does anybody remember this? This was a sitcom. This was a huge sitcom. This was sweeping the nation. This is pretty much where Robin Williams became a household name, I would say. He played an alien, Mork, from Ork, who touched down in his spaceship that looked a lot like an egg to some Yahoo ski town in Colorado. He teams up, he moves in with this chick, and pretty much her and only a couple other people know he's an alien. And, you know, it's Robin Williams in the 70s. I mean, you don't get more lampoonish or outlandish than that. You know what I'm saying? It was the 70s. Okay, Robin Williams in the 90s was crazy enough. Imagine him in the 70s when, you know, they were doing what they were doing back then. So anyway, by Milton Bradley, you've got a game based around all the wacky sayings that that Robin Williams Mork from Ork would say in the show. What's in here? You have to ask yourself. I mean, I guess you could have a board in here, but it seems a little small for that, don't you think? It also says it's a card game. It's okay. It's probably just cards. Well, let's open it up. I paid $3.83 for this. By the way, probably $3.83 too much, but I just couldn't pass it up. It just looked too ridiculous. So opening it up, you can see this is what the game comes with, and it is complete. I did confirm that. You're like, where's the instructions? The instructions are actually here on the box, and there you have it. The game comes complete with 84 cards and 4 eggs. Why does it have eggs?
My bad.
Why does it have eggs? I don't know. I have no idea. I'm trying to see where it says eggs. Wow, this is really weird. Alright, but let's look at some of the cards. Okay? I don't know what they do, but here's a wild card. It's got Mindy on it. So does this play like Uno or Skippo or something? You got Frankel. I guess Frankel was a robot. Blazonga. That's Blazonga. Wait, some sort of flower. Okay. There's 84 of these. We're not going to go through them all. Yakachuk. Yakachuk appears to be some sort of bird with sneakers. And then there's all kinds of, you got draw twos here. You got, the Nanu. He's in his egg. So I don't know. And looking at the box, trying to figure out what the egg does, I don't know, but it does say things like, remember to say Shazbot whenever you draw a card. Okay. Oh, it looks like no, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even see where it says. I mean, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I mean, how can you? So there you go. For $3.83, we have a complete copy of the Mork and Mindy language card game. What am we going to do with this? I don't think we're going to keep this in the hold. I'll probably pawn it off, hand it over to Boss Battle Games back in Indianapolis, the old arcade. You know, that's kind of been the dumping ground for all these board games that you can't leave behind, but you don't want to take up space with. So there you go. Mork and Mindy. I couldn't say no. We've got more stuff to look at in the chest later, which we will do. We're coming up on it, though. We're going to play some Clay Fighter. This was a game I was really... then we'll dig into the chest. Lots to see in the chest. And then, of course, we have your questions in the bag that tells no tales. If you'd like to leave something over here in the mess hall, you can do that. Not really seeing anything crazy, just people milling about the old mess hall, you know, buying each other drinks. I like to see that. That's always good. A little commiseration during the show is always nice. But we will play Clay Fighter. And if you have a question, leave it for me at the end of the show. Okay? So let's get started. Once again, an old personal favorite of mine, Clay Fighter, for the Super Nintendo. All right. Engaging that wacky music. All right. Alright, so I started this, well, I started this here basically because I do want you to see the roster of characters. Ooh. I couldn't pull myself out there. No, okay. So, we're gonna play as Bad Mr. Frosty. This game does not have a lot of characters. It came out around Mortal Kombat 1, so as a result, it was okay to have like 7 guys in your fighting game. But you got Taffy. He's he's the candy man of the circus. You got the strong man here, Tiny. You got the Blob, who is kind of like this alien who came down with the meteorite. Blue Suede Goo. Definitely gonna have to check him out later. He's the musician. Ichabod Crane. He's a ghost. And then finally, Helga, an opera singer. Okay? It's not over till Helga sings. So, and then we mentioned Bonker. Yeah, Bonker's a clown. Okay, so let's play as Bad Mr. Frosty. He's not my favorite. I usually do play like the Blob or even Taffy. But it's, you know, it's a snowy week everywhere these days. Everywhere you look, there's just snow, snow, snow. So let's go headlong into it and have some fun. So I remember when this game came out. I was really excited about it, and this is why.
Ladies and gentlemen, here are the combatant for this extravaganza. Bad Mr. Frosty versus Helga.
So how about that? How that must have been like nearly a dozen words. And you know, when I was a teenager, just when this was out, you know, early 90s, I was completely enamored by that. This was made by Interplay, and they put out a few games on the SNES, the 16-bit days, that absolutely blew me away for one factor. They had voice. It was this one. The first one that really blew me away was I mean, even the characters talk. The first game that blew me away was Rock and Roll Racing, and it's this kind of isometric racing game. Think like a 16-bit version of RC Pro-Am. Ugh. But it had licensed rock and roll music. Oh. Ugh. So it had like 16-bit versions of like Iron Man, Peter Gunn, you know, whatnot. Come on, lady. But the best part about Rock and Roll Racing, though... Ah, stop touching me! Alright, I gotta get serious. Come on. Land the pressure. Ugh. It's kind of close. So sorry, getting back to Rock and Roll Racing. The best thing about it was it had, at the end of the match, it would actually announce, the announcer would announce who came in what place.
Ladies and gentlemen, here are the combatants for this extravaganza. Bad Mr. Frosty versus Ichabod.
And I was like, that was cool enough. But then Clay Fighter comes out, and you have to understand what a sucker I was for fighting games in the early 90s. Still to this day, pretty much. If it's a 2D fighting game, I'm in, for the most part. And Clay Fighter was no exception. Plus, you know, and then I found... I found out that there was all this voice acting in it. I was like, because it felt like the cartridge is alive to me. I found it to be so exciting. Even if that's all he said is, here are the combatants for this extravaganza. That was enough for me at the time to be really excited. And on top of it, here we have a fighting game. I don't have to go, to Aurelio's to play Street Fighter. Of course, if you had this game and you didn't have Street Fighter in your collection, there was something wrong with you. Alright, let's play one more match here against Taffy. And then we'll,
Ladies and gentlemen, here are the combatants for this extravaganza. Mr. Frosty versus...
Okay, yeah, we'll play, we'll hit the booty segment here in a second, which might take a while. There's some stuff to go over. We'll see how it goes. It's an interesting story behind today's lot. Oh yeah! But another thing about this game that was interesting was it's so sloppy. So as a result, it would let you do things that Street Fighter just wouldn't let you do, because Street Fighter is a balanced game. This one, you'll some characters can throw out like 3-4 projectiles at once. You're doing like air special moves in midair. You can juggle guys. There's that KO thing where you see a KO over his head. If you happen to bludgeon the guy with like a pretty sizable special move at the moment he's KO'd, he takes massive damage. So you're constantly trying to overwhelm the guy. Alright, we're a little early, but we're gonna wrap there. I didn't realize I was so good at Clay Fighter. We're gonna just get to the start of Bonkers level here. Can I pause it now? No, I can't. Hold on, I'll pause it. Alright, cool. So we'll pause it there. We'll come on back. But yeah, I was such a fan of this game at the time. And I thought the characters were so amusing. I don't know. Certainly not a competent fighting game. It's a real button masher, although it's better than some. Definitely better than some. And considering what they were trying to do here, Mortal Kombat was doing actually bringing real people in the studio and capturing them that way. Interplay was doing something a little different in that they were, stop motioning clay. All of these characters in this game are stop motion captured. That was something you didn't see any other companies really doing. And like I said, they made Interplay itself, I believe, only really tried this with one other game called Claymates for the SNES, which is a little more traditional of a platformer. I wasn't that excited about that. I mean, there was enough platformers in those days, but a fighting game with a fat Elvis, which we'll see more of later. Don't worry, we'll get back to Blue Suede Goo. It's totally up my alley. All right. So anyway, let's get to the booty segment. So it's coming up on the big Christmas, the big C is coming up, the big X. My mother always told me to never refer to Christmas as Xmas. I think that's a religious thing. It's like you're voluntarily taking the Christ out of Christmas. I never really meant it that way. Xmas just has a certain, I guess, sexy style to it, which is probably exactly why you shouldn't use it for Christmas, but whatever. Anyway, Christmas is coming, and I was tasked by Master Gunnar Mary to use my knowledge of the land to find a stellar deal for her daughter, Maya. She said, okay, I'll give you the money. You just got to work the magic, okay? And, you know, Mary is not one to spare expense. God bless her. We're kind of on the... we're on different ends of the spectrum in that regard. You know, I will let something, you know, I'll let the dry rot in the lower levels just get worse and worse, and she, you know, will finally get on me to get somebody contracted out there to fix it. You know, I'm a very organic kind of guy. I just kind of let things go, and she, you know, takes charge and makes sure that you know, money is being spent where it's supposed to be spent, and that it's being spent at all. Whereas I will, you know, try and pinch every penny, and yet still buy just garbage. Does that make any sense? Anyway, she knows that I can cut corners and still find a good deal, especially when it's video games. So she wanted me to find a 3DS and some games for Maya. And I believe she gave me a budget of $180 to start, maybe $150. She's like, I need a carrying case, some games, and the 3DS. And I said, okay. Well, first of all, if you're going to shop for 3DS, you've got to add the XL to the end of it. Don't buy a 3DS. The original 3DSs, they're bad model. I mean, they're not badly built, but they're so obsolete. There's no reason to get one. The screen, especially, is the big offender here. The screen's very small. So if you're looking for a 3DS, you want to get into that realm, go for the 3DS XL. Do you need the new 3DS XL? No, not necessarily. That only added an additional joystick. That wasn't a real big add. I believe the 3DS, the 3D technology is better on the new 3DS XL. But I think that's really where the superiority ends. So don't break your back trying to find a new 3D XL. 3DS XLs, especially for children, is a perfect start. So that was my plan, was to find one of those. And that was no problem. They were all over the city. I'd been seeing them for months. Nuisance places that not only had a lot of 3DSs, but also had a lot of games floating around. And so I started hitting those joints. And I first hit a thrift store, and out of the box found this little guy. It's a 3DS backpack. Actually, I'm not even sure that it's 3DS specifically, but it is a backpack. And I think that's really cool for a kid to have a backpack here. There's a little protective Velcro box here that she'll be able to put her 3DS in, give it a little more durability, and then there's all kinds of little pockets and little elastic areas here to pop in small games, and there's her charger. So we got this guy for around $3. Thought that was an alright deal. These will usually run you know, retail somewhere around $10 to $15. So that wasn't too bad. It's not dirty or anything. It looks like someone put a couple of like star stickers on here, but you know, if we really need to, we can peel those right off. But there's no fraying here, so a good little case to get her started. And you know, so then I had to find the systems. But I said, you know, it just happened to work out where I was going to be at a retro game store before I was going to be where I'm going to get the hardware. And this is where I always suggest you get your hardware. It's a pawn shop. That was where we were going to make deals. That's where the big deals were going to go down. But we did want to get some games. We didn't want to be left with just trash. So we wanted to have a little bit of flexibility in what we picked for her. So I decided to go to a retro game store to do a buy 5, get 1 free deal on DS games. And I'm saying DS, and that's a big thing. DS games, not 3DS games. We're buying a 3DS, but for an 8-year-old, there's no reason to worry about getting her 3DS games. The DS was an excellent system with a large library, and it's backward compatible with the 3DS. So that's going to be our goal. If we're talking a 7 and 8-year-old here, we're going to go for quantity over quality. We want to wow her this Christmas. You know what I'm saying? But we also want to make sure there's at least a few really good games in there. So that's why we go to the retro game shop. We're going to be paying a little more for the games, but at least we know we're dealing with a nice, hearty selection. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got. So we were able to get some boxed games here for this. And it being a buy 5, get 1 free scenario, you have to make sure that all the games are kind of around the same price, because the lowest one is the one that you're going to walk away with free. Okay? So the first one I saw right out of the box, and this is one I would always suggest to anybody, whether you get a DS or a 3DS, pick up Clubhouse games. Okay? We picked this guy up for $3. Even in a Target, you're not going to find this for more than 10. And this game is a game that I've been playing for years. It's got 40 classic games on it, everything like checkers and chess, but it has some more obscure stuff like Stratego on it, and even like bowling. Oh, that's right, bowling is on this. Yeah, there's billiards on this, darts, and they're very inventive with how they use the touch screen. It's very cool. It's not just buttons here. You're using the touch screen to throw your darts and hit the billiards, hit the pool balls. The other great thing about this game is every game on it you can actually download via wireless connection to a friend's DS, and they have the full version of the game until they turn the system off. So you want to, if you guys are separating for the day and your buddy needs a copy of Crazy Eights, you can send that to him, and he doesn't need the cartridge. All of these games are able to be played with multiple DSs, and you're the only guy who needs the cartridge. That's really good. So I've gotten a lot of legs out of Clubhouse games. In my opinion, no DS or 3DS collection should be without it. Okay? All right, next one I saw was an easy pick. We got to get to this one. Scribblenauts. You ever hear of Scribblenauts? One of the greatest one of the greatest taglines for any game. Scribblenauts. Write anything, solve everything. I always thought that was a great line. What does that mean? That means this guy with the chicken hat, basically you got to get him from one side of the level to another to pick up a star. But anything imaginable could be between him and the star. There could be a building. There could be two monsters fighting. There could be a jungle. There could be a river. And that's where his little magic notepad comes in. So it's two screens. Up the top screen, you're watching the action of this little guy with a chicken head, and he's just waiting there for you. And on the bottom, you have this magic notepad. And if it's a river, you can say, on the magic notepad, you could write boat. And then once you're done writing it, boom, a boat appears right in front of this guy in the water. Or you could write helicopter. And boom, all of a sudden a helicopter shows up. Or you could write, dodo bird. You write dodo bird. There's a dodo bird. Of course, that might not work out too well because you may try and get on him, and he may bite you. So it's like, you could write tightrope and try and tightrope your way across. That's how inventive this game is. It's whatever you can think of to get the job done. It happens. What an amazing game. They made one other one, and I think one for the Wii U also. You can get one of these, both Scribblenauts 1 and 2, on the same card but that's a little more expensive. And, you know, again, for a 7-year-old, this is going to be enough. And, hey, she gets to, you know, fool around with her spelling a little bit, too. Great game. You know, I mean, just look at this guy. He's riding a panda, and he's using some bamboo on a fishing pole to guide the panda to the star. You know, that's brilliant. Star Wars Battlefront Elite Squadron. I think I had this back in the day. We didn't have a shooter. I was kind of running out of $4 games to buy her, so we picked this one up, and unfortunately it doesn't have the case. I'm not sure I'd necessarily recommend this one. This is more just we're really doing quantity over quality here. Ben 10 Galactic Racing. Looks pretty decent. You know, a bunch of different aliens racing each other. So that's pretty cool. I don't know how good it is. And I wasn't very impressed by the company who made it. D3 Publisher? I don't know. I don't know who made this. But it could be okay. You know, kart racer. How could we go wrong? We needed a little racing in here, you know. We also need a little puzzle. I'm not sure I can recommend this. I've never played it before, but it's made by Natsume, one of my favorite companies. And it's the Harvest Moon brand. You know, great line of RPGs. So this, I'm going to say this is at least a competent game. And then finally, this is more of my pick, and I kind of blew the load on this one, because all these other ones were either $3 or $4. I think all of these were... Puzzle the Harvest Moon was $4, Ben 10 was $3, Star Wars Battlefront was $4, Scribblenauts was $4, and Clubhouse was $3. So this one I kind of blew the load on, but I thought it would round out things a little bit. She had a little bit of everything, but no collection is complete without a little pinball. So we put in Metroid Prime Pinball. This was practically a launch game for the DS, and it's really good. Really good. Good music. Graphics are pretty good. And, you know, it's pinball. Very easy to learn and have fun with. And there's even a kind of quest mode here, it being Metroid Prime. But we paid $6 on that. So that was a little much. So at the end of the day, all these came out to $22. And then I was like, okay, well, we have some good games to start her with. Now let's wow her. Let's get her a bunch of games. So that's when we went to the pawn shop. And that's when we started looking around for cheap games. You know, all I can say on that is, you know your territory. If you're going to start looking for games in pawn shops, you got to know your territory. You can't just do this in a week and find the right stuff. I happen to know, you know, a couple places where they were just sitting on DS games. And one in particular, they just had this Tupperware just full of loose DS games. And I'm like, okay, that's where we're going to go to find our games. Now, by this time, I believe I've already been to about 3 pawn shops looking for 3DSs, and they were nowhere to be found. Because Black Friday had already hit. Pawn shops tend to have kind of a blowout sale right around the time of Black Friday, like a second Black Friday. So as a result... and 3DSs are big right now. You know, this time of year, people are going to try and get them. So we had almost missed the boat on getting the hardware. Places that I always see piles of them were just done, including this spot. But they still had games. So I pulled out a bunch, and I knew they were going to try and hit me for about $1 a game. That was okay. I kind of wanted to go a little lower, but at the end of the day, I think it worked out. So we have 10 games here that we got for $1 each. Okay? So we got Garfield's Fun Fest. The DS artwork is so boring because there's never pictures. You know, it's flat out just words. Made by DSi Games. I don't know. They're kind of hit or miss. But that's just like a 2D platformer. Whatever. Call of Duty Black Ops. Why are you going to get this for a 7-year-old? Well, I don't know. You know, what can I say? Maybe Mary will play this. It's pretty confident on the 3DS, though, believe it or not. Or the DS. Speed Racer, the game, I hear this is a pretty good, from what I've, you can't even see it, sorry. And I'm not really going to bother. Or am I? It just says Speed Racer. But anyway, I think Warner Brothers licensed this. I hear it's pretty decent. I looked up all these afterward because I wanted to know what I'd gotten into. But for $1 a game, I was like, well, we'll just get some games. I had already picked some games I was confident were good. Let's just grab some others and maybe we'll luck out. Wall-E? Wall-E? This is some sort of puzzle game, believe it or not, like a 3D puzzle game. Anyone who remembers Chip's Challenge, the 16-bit era, gathering things so you can go on to the next level. That's what you're looking at there. We had 2 mystery games. And man, I don't know what to tell you, I'm a sucker for mystery games. One of them being in a generic case, much like this, that said New Super Mario Brothers on it. Now when I grabbed that, he's like, I don't know if that's Mario Brothers. I can't guarantee it because, again, there's no label. Okay? But I took the chance, and it turned out that the game that was in there was not New Super Mario Brothers. It was Mario Party DS, which is pretty cool because Mario Party DS you can actually play with 3 other people with DSs who don't need the cart, and you guys can play a full game of Mario Party. So I think in the long run, she did better getting Mario Party than New Super Mario Brothers. And then this one was like, I don't even know what it was called. It was like I Spy Balloons. I don't know. I have no idea. It didn't sound interesting at all. We had another another Ben 10 game with more boring box art. Cosmic Destruction. It looked like a kind of a pretty competent 2D platformer. My Spy's Kingdoms. You know, this was great because I was eyeing this game for somewhere around $5-6 at the retro store, and here they had it for $1. You know, so I'm happy that I didn't grab it at the retro store. But I would say of all the games here, this is probably the closest she's going to have to Animal Crossing out of the box. So she'll probably get some miles out of that. And then finally we have Carnival Games and Nintendogs. Nintendogs is basically she's got a Chihuahua. And the funny thing about Nintendogs is you would think you could erase that game. Most gamers, if they're going to get a used game, they're going to erase the game out of the box. Well, I remember picking one Nintendogs up, a used copy, and being just curious enough to check it out. Curious enough to erase the dog. Well, I spent like 10 minutes trying to figure out how to erase the dog that was on that thing already. And I'm sure there probably is a way to. But I think Nintendo purposely made it very difficult and complicated to erase the dog that's on the cart initially. Because they don't like the idea of you just erasing somebody's dog. And I find that amusing because this is Nintendo is basically a simulator about having a dog, right? Well, if you were to pick up a dog from a kennel, it's not like you're going to erase its memory. You're not going to erase all the habits it's had from its previous owner. And I think that that's what they were trying to do here. So hopefully whatever Chihuahua happens to be on that cart, you know, I don't know how temperamental it's going to be for Maya. We'll see. But I like that. You know, it's probably got its own name. She's probably going to want to rename it. But no, that's just not how the world works. You get a used dog, you get the baggage that comes with it. So I like that. So anyway, we had 10 games here, $1 each. Somewhere around there. And she's even got a Mario game in there. I was really happy the Mario Party DS was in there. So there you go. But we still don't have hardware. So, oh my God. Oh, I missed my shorts. Okay. Woo, we're running over. All right, we're almost done though. So I finally found a joint that had hardware. It had three 3DS XLs, all special editions. 2 of them were Zelda, and 1 of them was the NES Retro Edition. It's really cool. It's like light grays and dark grays and red buttons. Looks like an old Nintendo. I wish I had one. But this wasn't about me, and I've already got a couple. I've got like the Special Mario and the Special Zelda. So that NES one I've never seen for the right price for me. But shopping for Maya, the important thing was not the model that we picked up, but what was on the operating systems within. Were there any installed games on there? Well, I looked through all 3 of them. We had them all powered up and charged so we could look. And the NES Retro... Ugh. Well, I'm glad we're almost done with this segment because our main booty light went out. Just burned out. Anyway, so one of the Zeldas had nothing on it. Had a couple of freeware games like Pokemon Picross and Pokemon Shuffle, which are free to download, kind of pay-to-play games. And then the NES one didn't have anything on it. No additional games. But there was one that had a couple of games. And it was one of the Zeldas. So here she is. You'll notice that there's a casing on there. Another nice touch. That glossy case was actually on the Retro NES 3DS initially, but when we were making the deal, I made a little switcheroony. I put it on here. Just a little added protection. The inside is gorgeous. Very nice condition all around. And I know that's blowing you out there. But the important thing here is the games that were on here. And the 2 games were Zelda, A Link Between Two Worlds, the only Zelda that was designed for the 3DS. Really good game. Excellent game. Very, very much like A Link to the Past for the SNES. And I was very surprised to see Zelda 4 Swords Anniversary Edition. And what exactly is this? Well, when the 25th anniversary of Zelda rolled around, Nintendo, to celebrate, added a free download to the eShop called Zelda 4 Swords Anniversary Edition. It was only up there for a year or so. And you could download it for 3DSs and DSi. I believe on my DSi, I have this download. But it's the only one I have. And it's not this game is not available in the eShop anymore. And basically, it's a small Zelda adventure with kind of like Wind Waker graphics that initially was supposed to be designed for 4-player only, and it was released on the Game Boy Advance with Link to the Past. But this Anniversary Edition, the 4 Sword Adventure, is now a standalone title, free to download, and they added an additional single-player game. So this guy had 2 Zeldas on it, one of them being very rare if you think about it, because you can't get that game anywhere anymore. Nowhere. You can't walk into a retro shop and get it, and you can't download it from the eStore anymore. So this is a pretty rare find if you think about it. So I think we had gotten it down to around 107 for this guy. And so that was pretty good. And that was certainly under budget of what Mary had given me. So I told her the situation. I gave her a call, told her the situation, and I said, I said, he actually offered to sell me both of them, 2 of them, the 3DSs, for $180. She's like, oh man, you should have done it. I would like one. And I'm like, well, you still got a chance. You see, I actually was in there for like 40 minutes and they were having computer problems and he couldn't ring me out. So I'm going to have to go back there. He put Maya's 3DS to the side in the back room. You know, the deal's already worked out, but I guess if I go back there, we can do that. Now, unfortunately, when I went back, the Nintendo Retro one had been sold. But for $180, $188, actually, after tax and whatnot, we were able to get both of these. One for Maya and one for Mama. This one is a little more beat up. And again, it doesn't have any additional content on it. You know, if I were Mary, I'd give Maya this one, and I'd hold on to the Zelda one with the rare download, and the two Zelda games I'd save for myself. You know, Maya's getting enough throwaway, fool-around games here. So there you go. Certainly expensive. I mean, you know, I can only imagine. You know, he got me out the door of this for $188, thinking he got me a good deal. I can only imagine what his face would have been like if I told him that, you know, not a year ago, maybe a year ago, I was able to walk out the door with two of these, one of them sealed, for $150. You know, but that was a different time, a different day, and it wasn't Christmas time. So there you go. $188 on the hardware. $22 on the select games, and $10 on the filler games. So you're looking at $88, 208, 210, 220, 220 for the whole shebang. It's Christmas. You gotta blow the wad sometime, right? All right, there you go. I'm way behind. We got time for a few more matches. And then we'll hit the we'll hit the mailbag segment. So get those questions ready. Okay, Clay Fighter. Just in time for Christmas. Alright, do a little more music. Here are the combatants for this extravaganza. Alright, give me some ears. Okay. Time out! I hope that wasn't too long for you. I think that was a pretty interesting lot, though, you know. I'm sure everybody's trying to make a deal, you know, these days. Getting around that time. Oh, you see that KO follow-up there? Now, Bonker, if you play Street Fighter, Bonker plays a lot like Sagat in that he can do throw low pies and high pies. Got him.
Mr. Frosty wins the battle.
We gotta go, though. I need to actually speed this up because it'll be horrible if we can't make it to if we can't fight Blue Suede Goo. But I think we'll be alright. I think we'll have enough time. We gotta fight. Finish off Bonker. I'm gonna throw you. We gotta fight Tiny. Oh, it shit me! That gotcha. That water flower. That's actually pretty dangerous. Because it can tenderize you, and if you're in KO mode, it'll make that hit too. There were actually a few of these games. Oh, I didn't know I could do that in the air. Come on. Come on. No! Bonker, I don't have time for this. Are you kidding me? Oh, no. We gotta get the Blue Suede Goo, you fool! I should have just fought as Blue Suede Goo. Oh my god. Or the Blob. Shouldn't play Bad Mr. Frost again. Oh well. It's snowy. I'm in the winter spirit. Now I'm trying to push through the narration I was so excited about. Oh, you go under that? God. Bonker, you're so annoying. Come on, baby. There we go. So they had a little bit of an expansion for this. They tried to do the whole, because it's a parody of Street Fighter, obviously. So they even tried to parody Street Fighter in that they made expansions, or like, you know, later editions of this game. So available only for Blockbuster rental was Clay Fighter Tournament Edition, and really the only big edition there was finally you could play twins, so you could play Bad Mr. Frosty versus Bad Mr. Frosty. Can't do that in this version, believe it or not. Tiny.
Here are the combatants for this extravaganza. Bad Mr. Frosty versus
Look at that! Look at Tiny. There's a face only a mother could love. But he does have cartoon lions on his side. Oh! And I would say he's the only character that really resembles anybody from Street Fighter. He certainly looks a lot like Zangief. So there was this tournament edition, and then they made Clay Fighter 2 Judgment Clay. If you're not getting the reference, that sucks. It's Terminator 2 Judgment Day. So Bad Mr. Frosty returns. He doesn't have his cool top hat anymore, though. I really hated that one. And I don't remember anybody else who was in it except for... There was like a Rambo bunny. Oh! Finish him off! Oh no. This sucks. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna play as Blue Suede Goo, and we'll try and beat Tiny. Okay. So you gotta see Blue Suede Goo. It says he likes music, but he hates Helga, the opera singer. I wonder why that is. Maybe he doesn't like opera. I guess that makes sense. You beat up my snowman! Prepare to die! Oh, mama. I remember the first time I saw Blue Suede Goo in like Nintendo Power. I was like sold. Absolutely sold. It's all over me. And I think that's why I didn't like the sequel. I don't know that Blue Suede Goo was ever in any more of these. Why they would take a character like Blue Suede Goo out is beyond me. Maybe Graceland was giving them static. Cut him in half with his hair. Oh, come on! Oh, Tiny! Wow, that was a combo. Alright. That's it, I suck. We're done. Tiny, you jerk! No more continues. That's it. That's it. There honestly isn't much else to see. You missed the Blob. The Blob's kind of cool. He morphs into all kinds of other things like cowboy boots and anvils and whatever you can think of from an old Warner Brothers cartoon. Obviously, doesn't come off as well as you would think, or you would hope, because this is kind of a sloppy game, but it's got a lot of heart. And I was actually playing with this. This is a great controller for this. Notice it's got. This is a Super Nintendo controller, but it's got two additional. It's got your shoulders, but then it's got two additionals over here for left and right. Whoever made this, God bless him, because this is like really the only competent fighting controller for the Super Nintendo. Even the Super Advantage for the Super Nintendo is a travesty. They weren't equipped for designing fighting controllers at that point. So this thing is great. This is the high frequency controller. All right, let's see if we got any questions here. It's mailbag time. Let's see. I got a couple people here just floating around. Come on, Elvis, you got this. I'm sorry. I let Elvis down. Yeah. All right. Okay, nothing here. So let's check the mailbag. See if anything's going down in here. What do we got? What do you want to tell me? All right. This comes from Dandelion Zero. Hi, Dandelion. He says, will we ever get to see the hold? Well, I mean, I don't know. The problem is the camera is hooked up to the navigator. The navigator is in the captain's quarters, and the navigator is huge. Now, the navigator obviously is instrumental in what we do here, because we pop a video game in, some game from the past 30 years into the navigator. We have to rig, old hardware, sometimes new hardware. We're lucky enough to have a Retron 5, but sometimes we have to hook up something older, like a Dreamcast, or, I don't know, the Nintendo Wii that we use to piggyback GameCube games. It gets very complicated. So we have to figure out some way to plug the software into the navigator, and then that's when we get the coordinates to figure out where we go. And basically the ship takes over from there. I mean, we man the ship. We have to keep her clean, and we have to keep her, workable. But the navigator pretty much gets us to where we are. I don't know how to get to Clayland. Do you? I mean, it's a really weird place. You should see it out there. It's this circus, but it's just been doused with space clay. And it's like glowing purple, and like guys are walking around there eating like ice cream cones that have clay all over them. They don't even notice because they're totally clayified. I don't know how we got here, but the navigator did it. And that's to risk. I guess my point is we would have to dismantle the navigator and move it to another part of the ship to see more of the ship. And is it really worth that trouble? Think of the golden goose. The farmer killed the golden goose to get the golden eggs all at once. And by doing that, he destroyed the magic that was what the golden goose was. He destroyed its life. That may be what happens with the navigator, for all I know. If we dismantle it, she may not be the same. So as things stand now, I mean, when we got this thing, we just rolled with it. We didn't know where to put the camera. We just put the camera here. And here it sits, so the hold is somewhere else. I don't know that you'll ever see the hold again. The most I can offer up is maybe we will see some artist depictions. I know I've seen Eve poking around the hold now and then, doing some doodles. So that may be something to see in the future. But as of now, I just, for the good of the ship, the good of our adventures, I kind of have to keep the navigator where it is. So we'll see. That's all I got for now. And then finally he asks, did you ever get the ants under control? It's winter. I don't know where they are, but I haven't seen them lately. You never know. You know what I'm saying? You never know with those creeps. All right, that's it. We're a little over. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next week. We'll have some more laughs, some more adventures, and by God, some more games. And until then, farewell and adieu to ye fair Spanish maidens. Farewell and adieu, ye ladies of Spain, for we received orders for to go play in Clayland. And lo, nevermore shall we see ye again. Here are the combatants for this extravaganza. Keep your powder dry, mateys.